Welcome back to Elderly Smiles. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and click the bell icon to stay updated. Let's begin the discussion.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's great to be here with you again. As we get a little older, we all start to think about aging gracefully, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've sent in some really interesting stuff about just that, aging well. And we're going to dig into it together today.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
It's all about finding those practical things, those little nuggets that help us navigate this chapter with grace and, maybe even a little more joy along the way.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Yeah. And I think what's so interesting about this article is how it tackles these truths about aging that we all kind of know, but it does it with a really refreshing and positive spin.
Okay, well, let's jump right in.
Yeah.
One of the first things that stood out to me was this idea of shifting from center stage to maybe like stepping back a bit.
Mm-hmm.
The kids are grown, careers are winding down, or maybe even taking a new direction.
Right.
So how do you see this as a positive shift? Not a loss, but something good.
Well, it's so easy to feel like we're losing something when those roles, on the outside start to change. Yeah.
But what if we thought about it as reclaiming something?
Oh, I like that.
Like instead of loss, it's a reclaiming.
Yeah.
It's like for so many years, we play these roles that are defined by others,
Mm-hmm.
right? Parent, employee, caregiver. And now we have this space to rediscover ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like what brings us joy?
Yeah.
What brings us joy on our own terms?
Yeah. It's almost like finally having that time, right? To pick up that hobby you put aside or travel to that place you've always wanted to go, but without having to juggle everyone else's needs.
Right.
And maybe, as you said, rediscovering who we are outside of those roles.
Exactly. And think about it. How often do we really stop and ask ourselves, what makes me feel alive? What do I truly enjoy? This shift, it's an invitation to reconnect with those things.
Thinking back to when my kids were little, my gosh, it was just a whirlwind. Schedules and responsibilities.
I know.
And, as much as I love those times, there's certain freedom now.
Yeah. To set my own pace and pursue my own interests. I don't know. It's almost like this second wind. You know what I mean?
It is a second wind. And it comes with this sense of perspective that you just can't have when you're younger,
Right.
It's a time to appreciate the simple things, savor experiences, and maybe even give back in ways that weren't possible before.
Mm-hmm. Now, the article was honest about another truth of aging, those changes to our bodies.
Yeah.
Moving a little slower, maybe a few more aches and pains,
Mm-hmm.
things I think we can all relate to at this point, right?
Right.
So how can we approach these changes with a sense of grace instead of feeling like, oh, I'm fighting a losing battle?
It's tempting, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
To see all these changes as negatives, especially in a society that's just obsessed with youth.
Right.
But what if we shifted our thinking? What if instead of thinking our bodies are failing us, we thought of them as being resilient, as vessels that have carried us through, decades of experiences and joys and challenges? Like they've earned some respect, haven't they?
I love that. Reframing it that way.
Yeah. It's about honoring that journey, right? Not trying to erase all the signs of it. It's not denying the realities of aging. It's about changing our relationship to them. And I think part of that is how we care for ourselves.
Yeah.
Maybe those really intense workouts aren't realistic anymore, right?
Right.
But a gentle yoga class, a daily walk, even gardening.
Yeah.
They all contribute to our well-being.
When I was younger, I used to think staying active meant, pushing myself to the limit.
Yeah, yeah.
But now it's more about finding those activities that bring me joy, that keep me moving in ways that feel good.
And isn't that a wonderful thing?
It is.
Like to discover that movement can be about pleasure and connecting with our bodies rather than trying to reach some ideal.
This whole conversation feels like such a shift in perspective,
Yeah.
accepting where we are, honoring the changes, focusing on what we can control.
And, that leads us to another truth that the article talks about, how our relationships change over time.
Oh, yeah.
Some friendships, they fade as lives take different paths while new ones bloom in unexpected places.
Oh, I can relate to that for sure. Thinking back, I've had friendships that were so important, but for a specific time in my life.
Right?
And then we kind of drifted as we moved on to different things. It doesn't make those experiences any less meaningful,
Yeah.
It's just part of life's flow.
Mm-hmm.
But staying open to those new connections, well, that's something I'm learning to appreciate more as I get older.
It really is like seasons in life, isn't it?
It is.
And sometimes the connections that mean the most happen when we least expect it. A chat with a new neighbor, joining a book club, or volunteering.
I think it's about challenging that idea that we're too old for new friends.
Yes, I love that.
I've met some of my closest friends later in life, and, those relationships are just as enriching, just as meaningful as the ones I've had for years.
Absolutely. And at the same time, we can nurture those bonds we already have. Make time for those phone calls, share meals, or just offer a listening ear. Those little acts can keep those precious connections strong.
While we were just talking about those relationships and how they change over time,
Yeah.
it made me think about something else that becomes even more important as we get older.
What's that?
Gratitude.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so easy to get caught up in what's changing or, what we might be missing.
Mm-hmm.
But if we shift our focus to what we're grateful for,
Yeah.
it can be so powerful.
It's like a reset button for our minds almost, isn't it?
It is.
Because even on those days that are tough, those tough days,
Right.
there's always something to appreciate. A warm cup of coffee in the morning, a phone call from a loved one, the changing colors of the leaves outside, it's
Yeah.
little things that can make a big difference.
They really do.
I've been trying to start each day by writing down just a few things I'm grateful for.
Some days it's big things. Other days it's simple, like a sunny morning or a good book.
Yeah.
But it really does help me start the day with a more positive outlook.
That's a wonderful practice.
Thanks.
And, it highlights something that the article talks about.
Okay.
Gratitude isn't about ignoring the hard stuff.
Right.
It's about holding on to the challenges in one hand and the things that bring us joy in the other.
It's about finding those silver linings.
Yes.
Those little sparks of joy that remind us that even when things are difficult, there's still beauty and goodness to be found.
Exactly. And the amazing thing is the more we practice gratitude, the more those moments seem to multiply.
Oh, interesting.
Like we're training our attention to notice the positive, and suddenly we start seeing it everywhere.
It's like we're attracting it almost.
Almost.
That makes me think about something else the article brought up.
What's that?
Letting go of regrets.
Ah, yes.
It's something we probably all struggle with as we get older, right?
You do.
Looking back and thinking, what if I had done this differently? Or I should have.
It's so easy to get stuck in that cycle of should haves and what ifs.
It is.
But it can be so draining.
Yeah.
The article makes a really good point about how holding on to those regrets keeps us stuck in the past. It prevents us from fully embracing the present.
I think that's where forgiveness comes in.
Yes.
Forgiving ourselves and forgiving others.
Absolutely.
We all make mistakes, and it's about acknowledging them, learning from them, and then moving forward with grace and compassion.
Beautifully said. It's about recognizing that we did the best we could with what we knew at the time.
Exactly.
And that leads us to another fascinating point the article makes.
Okay.
The power of perspective in shaping our experience of happiness.
Oh, yes. I love that part.
It uses that analogy of two people standing in the rain.
Yeah.
One is complaining about getting wet while the other one is finding joy in the freshness and the beauty of it.
Right. Right.
It's such a simple illustration, but it's so profound. The rain itself doesn't change.
Right.
But our interpretation of it completely shifts our experience.
It reminds me of that quote by Viktor Frankl.
Oh, yes.
He said, "Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing. The last of the human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way."
What a powerful reminder.
Isn't it?
And it speaks directly to this conversation about aging.
It does.
We might not be able to control all the physical changes or the things that happen in our lives.
Right.
But we can choose how we respond to them. We can choose our attitude, our perspective, and ultimately that shapes how we experience happiness.
And that choice is incredibly empowering.
It is.
It reminds us that even when things are hard, we still have choices.
Yes.
We can choose to focus on the good, to find those silver linings, to approach life with a sense of curiosity and openness.
Exactly. And the article takes this even further.
It does it.
Suggesting that cultivating happiness isn't just about our own well-being. It actually has a ripple effect on the people around us.
You mean like our joy becomes contagious?
Exactly.
I love that.
Think about it. A genuine smile, a kind word, a shared moment of laughter. These little things can brighten someone's day and create a positive chain reaction.
It's a beautiful reminder that our choice to embrace happiness can impact others in ways we might not even realize.
It really is. And it ties into the article's message so well.
It does.
A life well lived is about finding those moments of joy, cultivating connection, and making a positive difference. It's not about striving for some perfect ideal.
Right.
It's about embracing the beauty of imperfection and finding meaning in the everyday.
We've covered so much today.
We have.
And I feel like we're really starting to uncover some of the secrets to aging gracefully.
I think so.
What stands out to you as a key takeaway from this part of our conversation?
For me, it's realizing that happiness isn't some destination. It's a choice we make every single day.
It is.
And that choice, that effort to cultivate joy and gratitude becomes even more powerful as we get older because we have so much experience and wisdom to draw from.
That's a beautiful insight.
Yeah.
What about you? What's resonating with you right now?
I think for me, it's that reminder to stay curious and open to new experiences.
Yes.
It's easy to fall into those routines as we age,
It is.
but there's just so much joy in trying new things, learning and expanding our horizons. Even small things, like trying a new recipe or taking a different route on my walk.
Yeah.
It just makes me feel more alive and connected to the world around me.
You've hit on something important.
Have I?
It's about challenging those beliefs. We have those limiting beliefs about what's possible for us at this stage of life.
Yeah.
Our capacity for growth and discovery never fades as long as we keep nurturing that inner spark.
I love that. Welcome back. It's been great exploring all these different ideas about aging. We've talked about those shifting roles, changes to our bodies, how relationships ebb and flow.
We've even touched on the power of gratitude and letting go of those regrets. But it makes me wonder, what can we actually do with all of this?
Right.
How do we take these insights and really make them a part of our lives? Embrace this next chapter, in a truly meaningful way.
You've hit on a really important point. It's not just about understanding it all, but actually living it.
Yeah.
And the article does offer some practical advice on that front.
Oh, good.
One thing it really emphasizes is self-care.
Yeah. It's so easy to let self-care slip, especially when life gets busy. But it seems even more important as we get older, right?
Absolutely.
So what does self-care even look like, in this context?
It's about making those choices that nourish us on all levels, physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Okay.
It might mean making sure we're getting enough sleep,
Right.
eating good food, moving our bodies in gentle ways.
And it goes beyond just those basic needs too, right?
It does. It's about those things that bring us joy, keep us mentally engaged, nurturing our passions and interests, whether that's reading, gardening, taking a class, spending time in nature, anything that gets us curious and makes us feel alive.
Speaking of feeling alive, the article also talked about staying connected.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier too. Friendships might change, but those bonds are so important to our well-being, aren't they?
So vital. Making the effort to stay in touch with loved ones, nurturing the friendships we have, and being open to new ones, it really makes a difference. Creating that feeling of belonging, having support, especially important as we go through changes.
It's like building a community around ourselves.
Yes, it is.
Whether it's family, friends, joining groups, activities that we enjoy.
And don't forget about giving back.
Oh, yeah.
Volunteering, being a mentor, even just lending a hand to someone who needs it, that can bring so much joy and purpose.
It's that reminder that we still have so much to offer.
We do.
Even as we get older, we can contribute, share our skills and experience, and our compassion.
Exactly. And one last thing I think is really crucial to remember is that aging gracefully is not a finish line, it's a journey.
It is.
It's about embracing all of it, the ups and downs, and approaching it all with curiosity and compassion for ourselves.
Being kind to ourselves.
Yes.
Celebrating our wins, accepting that, hey, it's okay not to have all the answers.
Exactly.
It's about learning and growing along the way. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a question. What's one small step you can take today? Maybe it seems small, but to really embrace this art of aging gracefully.
It might be as simple as calling a friend you haven't talked to in a while, or taking a few minutes to just breathe deeply, or even just noticing something beautiful and appreciating it.
Right.
Remember, all those little things add up.
They do.
Self-care, connecting with others, being kind. They create a ripple effect, not just in our own lives, but for those around us.
It's been great exploring all this with you. I feel like we just scratched the surface, but hopefully this gave everyone some food for thought, some inspiration for this journey we call life.
I think so too. And no matter what stage you're at, remember there's always something new to learn, something beautiful to experience, and someone wonderful to connect with.
So well said. Thank you for joining us. And here's to embracing each moment with grace, curiosity, and joy.